they feel like they actually have to get the ball out of his hands on pick and rolls at the top of the key, which I never thought I would say with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown was one of the most intriguing players in the league to me, and you wondered whether he and Derek White would kind of be on a gap year. If one of them got hurt, maybe the Celtics would just kind of take it easy this season. And Jaylen Brown's just been way too good for that. And he has taken on the role of a leading man exceedingly well. This season, he has possessed the ball, we estimate 28.7% of the time that they are on offense. Last year, that was 21.6% of the time. Our passing creation metric, which measures the number of times that a player, when he is on the floor, throws a pass that leads to a shot or a turnover, 12.6% passing creation. Last year was 10.8%. I actually expected there to be more of a difference there. He has not been passing that much more than he was a season ago. Instead, it's just been his scoring, which is way, way up. So his total creation, which is turnovers, scoring attempts, passes that leads to shots, 48.6% of the Celtics shots when he's on the floor, he either creates with a pass, shoots, or I guess it's not a shot, but he turns it over. So that number last year was 39.5%. Remember, they had Jrue Holiday last year. They didn't have Anthony Simons, but he hasn't played that big of a role. And of course, they had Jayson Tatum as well.
Can I
yes.
mention a little bit about the context of that 48.6 total creation?
Yeah.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is at 49.2. James Harden is at 48.2. So he's between Harden and Shai in terms of how much Jaylen Brown is running the Celtics offense.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he's really improved his turnover rate as well. And his pick and roll game is just way better than it was last year. So last year, when he attempted to score out of pick and roll, he turned it over 18% of the time. This year, that's down to 13%, which for an on-ball guy is a pretty decent number. And pick and roll plus isolation is 42% of his offense. That's just pretty much totally self-created. And his shot making has been awesome. That's really been the heart of why he's able to be more effective, because he's forcing the defense to react to his shot making. He's got one of the absolute hardest shot diets in the league. We would project him to shoot 48.9% e-field goal percentage. So again, you put some of those numbers out there based on his shot diet. That's Jalen Brunson, Devin Booker, right in that 49% range. So it's not quite DeRozan or Ingram level or KD. Like those guys are more 47%, but it's that next tier of shot difficulty. And with his shot making, he's adding 6.0 percentage points of e-field goal value to that. So last year, he had a much better shot quality. And not much better, but about 51%. But he shot about 51% e-field goal percentage. So his shot quality has gone down by 2%, but his e-field goal percentage has gone up by 4%. Also, the shot diet being harder, 70% of his shots last year were self-created. Now 80% of them are. And he didn't shoot well from three last year, 32%. This year, he's at 50% on long twos. Last year, 42%. So 50% on long twos again. That is an elite number. And he's never been this level of shooter before. And certainly not off the dribble. Because that's the other thing in his pick and roll game. 13 of 24 on threes off the dribble in pick and roll. So over 50%. And so as you look at the film, the defense is largely having to react to him. It starts off with, if you're going to play a drop coverage on him, especially Neemias Queta, who's made himself into a nice roll man, well, he's going to just slam that guy with the screen, and Jaylen Brown is going to shoot a three off the dribble, and he's going to make it. Or he can snake the pick and roll, and just about anybody who's on him, he can get off the ground so much that if you get away from his body, he's going to get that mid-ranger off, and it's going to be a 50% shot. So teams have had to react to him quite a bit. And in some of the recent games that I saw, they had the big getting up more to get the ball out of his hands, or at least pretty close to up to touch. And that then is unlocked his passing game. And probably the pass that he's been best at is that quick pass over the top to the roll man. And Kate has actually been effective catching near the free throw line and taking a dribble or two, or a lot of times it'd be a guard screening for him as well. So teams don't want to switch him because he's also been really good in isolation. And so they feel like they actually have to get the ball out of his hands on pick and rolls at the top of the key, which I never thought I would say with Jaylen Brown. And then the other aspect too is if you're in any kind of a drop, or if you're trying to switch and put a smaller player on him, he's gotten pretty good at rejecting the screen. And any time you get a smaller player on him, his handle has gotten so much better now to where he's able to get to spots against smaller players and either rise up or knock him backwards, do that slow steps finish, or make the pass that he needs to make, which again is the thing that's been missing because he's just going slower and he doesn't feel like he's going to lose the ball. A lot of times that's going to speed you up. If you feel like you're going to lose the ball, it's like, well, all right, well, I better go right to the basket right now, put 2 hands on the ball, and it ends up being a wild finish or a turnover. But if you have that confidence, and the Celtics always have very good spacing, Joe Mazzulla really preaches that. They still are shooting a ton of threes. He can probe and keep himself on the ball, make a pass to a shooter, or get to a spot and finish against a smaller player. And then if you play sort of like more of like a catch coverage, maybe up to touch, but not really like a pure blitz to get it out of his hands, then he also can accelerate and blow by that guy and still finish it at the rim. So he's actually become a very effective isolation and even more so pick and roll player. And that's been one of the foundations of the Celtic offense and how he's managed to up his usage while also getting way more efficient this year.
And I think it's a couple of different important parts of the story. So Jaylen Brown had this really rough 24-25 season relative to his standards. But that was, and we've talked about this with a lot of marketing too. Like he was battling an injury and pretty clearly a lot of last season. And so part of it was getting healthy, but he's also a materially significantly better player than he was. And to me, the money number, we're not doing awards for another couple weeks, but Jaylen Brown, we brought up that his role within the Celtics offense is between Harden and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Boston Celtics have a 122.6 offensive rating when he's on the floor. That is extremely good. And so he has this huge role. The Celtics are doing, and of course, their talent, like even if their talent is worse, the scheme, some of the philosophy stuff he is benefiting from that. And one of the other things that is partially Mazzulla in the scheme, but partially Jaylen Brown, is that they don't turn the ball over as a team. Like Jaylen Brown's individual turnover rate is higher this year, will be a career high, but he has a larger role within the offense, and that is a completely acceptable part of the equation for him. He's been fabulous.